You see, I had a favorite dream that makes a lot of sense, but that following common patterns, historical data, and facts doesn't at the same time. So please, follow me in a what if as kind of topic for this video idea, okay? I love the Nintendo Switch with all my heart, but I wasn't really hyped over the fact now I needed to start paying for its online services entering 2018. I never needed to as a Nintendo fan. I've always been more into single player experiences, so I casually gave my fingers things to do by playing the new Mario platformer or replaying Pokemon Sapphire for the 15th time in a month. I gave it a chance back in 2018 using my free trial, but getting to know and play those NES games, they were available back then, and being sure Wario's Woods was sure a highlight really cemented my dislike for the service. Or the service fee to be more precise. I got excited once they announced the SNES emulator app coming in September 2019, so I can eventually replay those funny monkey games my uncle introduced me to back in my childhood using his PC, but that's about it really. Now, even back then, I was tripping balls when I saw it. I was 8 years old, but I knew damn sure that no Nintendo game was ever gonna be playable outside of its ecosystem. So that's when my uncle kind of explained to me as deeply as you could to an 8-year-old what an emulator was. Then I started connecting on some dots. Oh, I get it, so that's how I've been seeing my friend's older brother Steven play Pokemon Crystal on his phone. And I mean, it was before the 2010s, so even back then that was fucking impressive. And kind of required some tinkering to get it to work. And once you go into that rabbit hole, you eventually get lost but get to know more and more. I got an emulator to run on my PC, Visual Boy to be exact, and synced a ton of hours on Mario World and GBA Pokemon games once I was home. But when it was time to leave to my parents' workplace or a family gathering, I was for sure bringing my game packs with me. Does that ring any bells or give any leads on where I'm going with this? It's a long introduction for a subject I've been barely even glossed over, but you see, here's where I'm going to. Tinkering with emulators, downloads, installations, and even searching for an Atlas ROM page was difficult. Worth the stress for sure, but just for me and a few others, I guess. It's not for everyone. Most people just buy the consoles and games they wanna own and play, and maybe even collect or resell. Most people have the money to do it, and then there's other people with not as much money. I would like to call them kids for this video's sake of simplicity. And sadly, Nintendo and the other companies know this. That's why they value their game prices as high as they possibly can, because they know if their customers can pay for that in complexity and easiness of play, they will. I mean, would you rather do this? Or this? Or this? And for those in the backseat who don't know, well, there are other options available. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think that Nintendo makes their consoles vulnerable to jailbreaks on purpose. Anyway, I got more excited once they announced Nintendo Music as a bonus for NSO subscribers. And I knew that was because I'm a Nintendo fanboy, since it doesn't really add up to anything more than a legal way to listen to their copyrighted music without being afraid of it being taken down. But come on, everyone has that YouTube video of a Nintendo OST that they keep on loop, or it's just a 1-hour mix. We're all friends here. So the Nintendo Music app wasn't really filling any gaps on their potential public, but it was a fun extra for something I was already paying for. Now that I was even more convinced because of the N64 and especially Game Boy Advance apps added on early 2023. But it got me thinking, weird that there's a funny little extra thing I'm technically paying for with my NSO subscription on the Play Store or App Store. Moving on. You know what's other fun NSO feature I'm sure not a lot of people consider on how deep does it goes? Cloud save data. You see, once you pay for your NSO subscription, you get access to it in its entirety. And I got to know the power of it once I went to a friend's house without my Switch. Got logged into my account on his and continued playing my Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga save file right then and there. I wanted to know if that will theoretically work, and it did, so it got me thinking on something. We all know the Nintendo Switch success is undoubtedly a highlight on Nintendo for these last few years, and they for sure aren't going bankrupt after rising on the top 3 in the best-selling game consoles of all time list. Again. But what if the Nintendo Switch didn't succeed as well as it did? For things like Game Pass, I could have seen Nintendo basing its strategy following a Microsoft-like approach, going for more subscribers over console sales. At the end of the day, it was easier to get their investments on a $60 yearly charge than accommodate for warranties, especially with the well-known Joy-Con drift problem. Even doing the math, it only takes like 6 years for the console's MSRP being covered by consecutive NSO annual subscriptions. So what other benefits could have they added to give potential NSO subscribers a no-brainer reason to pull their wallets out? Well, this is my take on this. There were a lot of iOS users excited over the fact that they could finally use emulators on their smartphones once Delta was launched on April 27, 2024. Although you could do that way before if you were an Android user instead of an iOS one, but that's beside the point. Xbox has xCloud, PlayStation has PS Remote Play, hell, even Steam has Steam Link to cast their games onto your phone for ease of access. But we need to note that Nintendo doesn't have to go that far. After all, they do have a portable system in their Switch brand. But what about a middle ground? What if, let's say one day during a Nintendo Direct, Nintendo announces that the NSO, NES, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and N64 apps are going to be ported over to iOS as well as Android. Just for the NSO subscribers, of course, with cloud save data backups included due to it being the same as the Nintendo Music app, linked directly to your console's profile. Now, imagining Nintendo really wants to expand their subscription count, taking into consideration that if leakers are correct about it, Nintendo might want to start moving forward to making their online infrastructure a core piece for their next generation with Switch 2, since there's a rumored voice chat integration. Now I'm gonna give you 2 example scenarios so you can think about them for a second. 1. You're lying on your bed replaying Link's Awakening with your Switch on the Game Boy NSO app, but you know your time's up, you gotta go to work, so you save your progress in one of the 3 slots in app, close the game, app, and put your Switch on sleep mode. You start getting ready, putting on some clothes and leaving. You get there earlier than your work start time, so you take out your phone to make some time and BAM! You open up your Android/iPhone port of the Game Boy NSO app right where you left off, due to the cloud save instantly backing up once you save your progress and close the app on your Switch. Games aren't being streamed since the app waits at most 130 megabytes right now, so you're not trading your data plan on a streaming or a cloud alternative. So you continue the dungeon you left it off until it's time to get busy again. You save your progress on the same slot, once you get home, BAM! Continue where you left it on your TV. It would be another way to play it in conjunction with the standard tabletop handheld and TV mode. You would just be able to keep using cross saves to take advantage of something a little more portable and a little more discreet, as is your phone. Now let me give you the second example, but first, did you know that back in early 2023, once the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance NSO apps were added as benefits for subscribers, people got to test if Pokemon ROMs, and mainly trading capabilities, could work on the apps, or if they were even possible, because of the way the app manages 2 players for multiplayer games. Well, Austin John Plays has a video with demonstration using magic to get those ROMs there in the first place, and they funnily enough work, as if the trading capabilities or mechanics were thought of in mind while designing the app multiplayer functions. You can see it working here. Now onto the second example. 2. You're lying on your bed, replaying Pokemon Sapphire for the 16th time this month with your Switch on the Game Boy Advance NSO app. But you know your time's up, you gotta go to work. So, you save your progress in one of the 3 slots in app. Finally, multiple save files on all Pokemon games, am I right? Close the game, app, and put your Switch on sleep mode. You start getting ready, putting on some clothes and leaving. You get there earlier than your work start time, so you take out your phone and BAM! You open up your Android/iPhone port of the GBA NSO app, right where you left it off. due to the cloud save instantly backing up once you save your progress and close the app on your Switch. Well, saying your friend from Wisconsin wants some help with evolving his Slowpoke into a Slowking.
Oh, I already have it holding the King's Rock. I just need a trade back.
So you guys log into the app with your user. On your phone, connect to the internet, and do the trade. Slowbro evolves, Wilson thanks you, and you keep on playing on your save file. As easy as it sounds. That opens a whole new world of possibilities, taking into consideration that Nintendo is now doing these special edition versions of already added games, which are essentially just ROM hacks with a progress or special content unlocked. Taking as an example, the e-reader card levels they have available on Super Mario Advance 4, and knowing they're pretty much lost to time with no official nor feasible way of playing them without going the magic route. And if they're giving you the special e-reader knickknacks, what can we expect about the limited time special distribution events such as the legendaries from Gen 3, 2, or even 1? And I mean, they've done that before with Celebi being unlockable after the Elite Four on the Virtual Console version of Pokemon Crystal. This is theorizing in a perfect world at best, but could you imagine if Nintendo or Game Freak catch onto this trend and start releasing modded versions of these ROMs with Nuzlocke or randomizer functionalities? That would be awesome and still doable. Pretty unlikely, sure, but that's not far off of what Nintendo have been doing lately with NSO. Licensing pretty obscure games no one really cares about unless you hear they added them into the service. You're bored one day and say, okay, and open it up. Don't you think it's weird we haven't really had the Pokemon ROMs on NSO apart from the Stadium series and Snap? I mean, I know how frugal Nintendo and Game Freak often are with re-releases of their gold mines, but we already had those ports on the 3DS back in 2018 with trade-up functionalities even. Only generations 1 and 2, but still. I kinda like to think that they didn't go with Gen 3 since they didn't figure out a way to do trade-ups and the Switch was already catching up in sales enough, so they weren't really interested in putting on some more planning and development resources on them when they were already fiddling around with the first wave of NES ROMs on the NSO service. And I'm sure Nintendo would rather go for the money and the subscriptions those moves will bring than keeping themselves from getting it. Even if they like to only have their software exclusively on their hardware, well, with the release of Nintendo Music, we've been seeing them breaking schemes and patterns. That way, they could get us to have them being more involved in the lifestyle approach the company is currently going forward to, noting the past year announcement of Alarm Mode. And if there's a way they can charge us for what we've been essentially been doing for the past decade on our phones, but with now an even better ease of access, and having the broader public to notice once they open the Play or App Store, or a friend who's really into it talks them into it, they would. Food for thought, I guess, but I can always dream again.